Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of The Letter. Last time, Ashton's begun his paranormal investigation. Well, kinda. But he's starting to be a believer. Had a nice chat with Zach. And currently we're breaking into BRC to get some files since it seems there is a pattern of BRC employees, dying or disappearing. Also, we got a little clue that someone from Isabella's family died, probably the dad since he was super sick, so that explains the vibe she's been in. Also, I love how he stopped right in front of a freaking elevator door. Like, this is gonna be a jump coming or something. Quick time event maybe. If Kyoto doesn't come through that door, I'm gonna be very surprised. Or they might do a bait where it's fine, and then when you go back up the elevator with Isabella, it hits you. I don't know. I just prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for a scare. I'm kind of prepared. But yeah, let's just get this started. It's a quiet ride up to the 7th floor, where the BRC Let's Burn main office is. Seb has been kind enough to switch the guest elevator's power on, just as I'm about to head for the fire exit stairs. Hindsight, we want to be on the stairs, I think. Which is a welcome relief. I'm an active guy, but stairs? I don't want to tire out too quickly in case things get ugly. What, in here? There probably won't be any trouble with the building this quiet, but you never know. I swear this whole place definitely feels eerie at this time of night. Honestly, any office building does. At night. But until I've confirmed anything, those are just stories. Worse things can happen, no need to scare myself. Staying calm means fewer mistakes.
Oh, I sure am fucking gutsy, especially with what I'm doing.
I like it, though. I'm breaking a lot of laws here. I'm also putting Isabella in a lot of risks. The best thing that can come out of this is that Isabella's right all along. Worst case scenario? 1. Someone finds out Isabella's involvement in this and her boss fires her. 2. I find evidence that would implicate BRC or Luke Wright in a crime, and my meddling, if I'm not careful enough, makes it inadmissible and correct. That's probably like the super bad one. I was thinking about that too, but I don't think the game's gonna get that deep into it. Also, I don't really believe that Luke is that bad of a guy, so... Though, I'll be honest, I strongly prefer losing my job or facing Wright over some spirit or ghost or whatever it is. I could always work around the problems with the former. Isabella could also find a better job. BRC never did pay her properly, despite her efforts. But fighting off a phantom? How does one even do that? Do guns work with them? Honestly, I don't blame him. The rules for ghosts and shit is always different depending on the story. I mean, there's some common ones, but who knows? Get a priest.
Yeah, not going to happen.
But tonight, I'm here to fix things. If I do it without leaving a trail, all the better. Good thing that's what I'm good at. We're saying, oh, really? Not the easy way in, huh? I wonder if like a different story change would make it harder. I guess if we didn't take Isabella with us through different choices. I'm surprised, no Kyoto. I think it's the double bait. I think when going back down, she's gonna pop up or something. Trying to ease you in. What I'll probably never be good at is finding the proper words when a sitch calls for it. Situation. Cute abbreviation. But seeing Isabella's small form beyond those doors, how she pushes through despite carrying an entirely different burden this time, how she's pretending as if everything's normal, it's difficult not to try. People who have never looked beyond her smiles will never know, will never understand, how even Rebecca's probably not yet aware of this. I get it. We have other problems at hand. I've done the same thing plenty of times to protect myself, after all. But it's all in her eyes when she glances up at the few light raps I give the door. She wastes no time in leaving the mess of papers on the table and opening it for me. though even her confusion as she takes in my presence barely hides it.
Seb let you in?
Smooth talker. The rough edge in her voice rings a whole different tune now that I'm aware why. But knowing is different than hearing it straight from her. I can't simply bring this up, can I? It's not a topic suited for a casual conversation, and I doubt she wants to talk to me about it. As much as I want to help, there's a distance between us I'll never be able to cross. One that wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for me. Perhaps if I had been more honest years ago, and less of a coward, I might have been able to. Figures I couldn't even do that for the one person I keep telling myself that I care deeply about.
What can I say? I'm a very charming person.
To a rock, maybe?
Don't call me a rock. This is the closest we can get to it, I suppose. The light banter, the fleeting glances, or sometimes the long bouts of silence. And it's enough. For me it is, because even without words, there's comfort. With her, it's easy.
Must be a pretty cool rock then.
Ugh, get over yourself.
Hey now, I deserve some slack here. Today's supposed to be my day off, and yet here I am helping you out.
Helping. By standing at the door.
Well, you're not exactly letting me in.
Despite what she says, she moves to block me when I try to enter. She must have expected this, the second we walked up to the building's entrance, and counted on the night shift guard to bar me from the place. It's reassuring to know she's somehow worried about me, although it's a bit misplaced at the moment. Besides, her concerns aside, I really can't let her get into the thick of things without me, not with all the problems on her plate right now.
Isabella!
Seriously, Ash. Seb might get in trouble for this. You might get in even bigger trouble with your boss.
Yeah, who cares?
And you're not? We've already talked about this back at Zach's. It's out of the question.
At least do it for Seb, please. He's a really nice guy. With the way things are going here, he's...
On that, I agree with her. Seb's not such a bad fellow. Might be a little careless with his job and talks too much, but he means well. I mean, we've talked to the guy for like 5 minutes. I'd hate to see the guy leave here with a bad record in case something goes wrong. However, the anxious look she shoots back at the table behind her brings an even bigger worry.
Did you find something? Aside from what you told me about yesterday?
Not yet. I'm not sure. I haven't started going through the files we have in the records room. Just the ones they handed to me and Rose.
Let me see.
Wait, Ash!
Isabella, I already promised you that no one's going to get in trouble after we're done here. Even Seb. I'll make sure we leave the place clean.
Her hesitation's still there, a split second of indecision as she tries to form an argument. Eventually, when nothing comes to mind, she steps aside.
Okay, but we can't take the original files out of this office, clear? Not even a single sheet. We'll just have to make a copy.
Don't worry, that's the plan.
It appears to reassure her. A nod, then shortly, she gestures for me to follow. Passing the sea of cubicles, I can't help but take in everything in their office, a force of habit for the most part. As far as I know, BRC Lutzburn used to own this whole building. Offices in several floors, once upon a time, when real estate is still a lucrative business for the company in this side of the country. Then, competition showed up and suddenly, everything's not so good anymore. It only got worse as the years went by, or so according to the rumors. Now the branch is just this floor, despite what the huge sign in the building facade says. And frankly, it's not too hard to believe when one looks at the state of this room right now. Close up on a cubicle. A number of desks have been cleared out. Personal mementos are scarce, as if the employees have gone on an exodus. That'll be the downsizing. Probably still worrisome though. I was about to say maybe not the downsizing since people keep going missing. Of course, I shake away all of this when Isabella starts handing me the papers she's been looking through. Focus, Frey. There's no point in whining or dwelling on it any longer on it. That's why we're here in the first place, to find out what the real deal is the old-fashioned way. Isabella's presence is a whole other blessing too. I couldn't imagine how long this would take if I pushed going in here alone.
Is this everything? Where are the documents you mentioned?
Still locked up in the records room. Do you need them now?
Yes,
Bring them here.
might as well.
Everything that has to do with the mansion's sale. Even those who worked on it during the renovations. The cleanup. Everything. Including your mandatory sign-in sheets.
It's an odd thing to bring up, but at least it elicits a laugh from her before she heads to the record room. She remembers. And no matter how weak the sound of it is from her usual ones, it's a welcome thing to hear. It reminds me that the Isabella I know is still in there. She returns minutes later with a thick stack of folders and binders. For the next half an hour, we work in complete silence while we dig into everything compiled in the folders. Not an easy task considering how thick the whole thing is, but there's two of us. I wonder how Sub's doing. If he's okay since we're spending more time. I thought they were just trying to tape the documents, but I guess they can't. Maybe take pictures, but doesn't matter, I guess. In fact, Isabella does most of the work, sorting the contracts, the employee list, and stuff we won't need into a neat pile. Just the files for the restoration alone makes up a stack of papers that's an inch thick. Third-party service providers hired by the masonry for the masonry. Radiators, woodworking, plasterwork, slate roofing, and a whole bunch of other things are well documented. Hell, every single contractor who worked on this project were listed individually, even if they were just doing we're just there to do the plumbing. It's a high profile and high cost estate, alright. But with that scope comes the loopholes, means plenty of room to hide something in, if there's something fishy going on. All I have to do is find a pattern. And it doesn't take long. Upon closer glance, despite the original owners shouldering the renovation costs, it will be surprising if they manage to break even on the Ermengarde mansion. With what the additional expenses for the open house, the commission for their agents, and other overhead fees. At one point, the negotiations to get listed under BRC's name also almost broke down too. Some disagreement about the listing price. The owners wanted to be rid of it as quickly as possible while keeping the worth at a profitable level. BRC was insisting on a higher amount, double what the appraiser suggested. This, plus the rumor that their branch is closing. BRC Lutzburn really is in the red, and the sale of the mansion could have easily been a desperate move to keep the branch afloat.
No wonder the final sale happened as fast as it did. Did you know about this?
No, they took it off our hands after I submitted the final documents for the sale. I didn't even know until I read this. I'm not sure if Rose did. I've only been given the key to the records room after she... Anyway, my point is, they've kept all the files from me. Rose was the one who compiled everything from our side. And even then, she was probably not aware of this. There's only so much they let us know. After that, they just told us to wait for our commission, and that the legal team would handle the rest. The rumors are true, huh?
Seems so.
Sheesh, this place is just unlucky. Going bankrupt while the rest of this crap is happening. What if it's part of the curse? But this isn't what we're looking for. What we need is the who. The people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business with the mansion, and how they are now. We can't do much with the outside contractors. They won't be on file. The employees list, on the other hand. Even with 2 people working through the pile, the whole task still takes quite a while. It's a quarter of an hour later. It's not bad. It's only 15 minutes. I thought they were there for a freaking hour. When we put down the papers with a sigh and move on to the clients upon Isabella's insistence. For that, the sign-in form from the open house comes in handy. Something that gives me a laugh when I spy the fake name I wrote on one of the sheets. So we have Hannah, Luke, Richard Frank, Usia Ventul, Ashley. Maybe. Which one's him? Ashley? I thought it might be Richard Frank since that just sounds like a fake name, but it's probably Ashley. Charles Lesinas, Marcy Ty, Lauren Stiles, Madeline Williams, Beatrice Wild, Hannah something. It kind of looks like Hannah right again, but something else. Rhythm something. Can't read that. Ailey. Oh, Ailey. That's the chief. What the heck is? I don't even. Is that even? It's a dumb signature. Oh wait, no. I'm so stupid. I'm dumb. It's signatures and names. Yikes. Okay, that made sense. Let's see their signatures. Dude, Lute's signature kind of sucks. What is that? To be fair, my signature sucks too, so it doesn't really matter. Charo's signature freaking sucks hard. So Ashley is just the chief inspector. Yeah, all the other signatures are fine. Right, Lauren's signature, I can't even imagine having to write that every time. It's too difficult. Anyways.
Why'd I even pick this name? It sounds so lame.
What, Richard Frank?
What name?
Nothing important. Just focus on those papers you have. We need to finish this soon, before Seb suspects anything.
She snatches the paper away before the thought of hiding it occurs to me. Not that there's much secret in it. Isabella found me that afternoon anyway, but still.
Ashley?
Oh, it was him. I thought it was... I know the inspector's last name was Lee, so... I've been careless that day, tailing Loot right without confirming where they were headed off to. While the butler's terribly efficient in keeping the right's engagements from the public eye, there are other ways if only I've given the time of the day. In retrospect, I've been too eager, too impatient to find something that would crack the case and be done with it. Maybe my failures goes as far back as the day of the open house, not during the party last night.
Yeah, well, I was pressed for time.
It's cute. Ashley.
Seriously, Ashley? Were you even trying?
Oh, come on. You didn't even notice I was the one who wrote it down.
Of course I wouldn't. Only an idiot would use his real name.
It worked, though. Admit it. It's genius. Who would have thought, huh?
She responds with a roll of her eyes, then drops the matter entirely by shoving the paper back to my hands. We lapsed back to our respective tasks afterwards, wordlessly skimming through everything. Read, set aside, get another one. Looking back at the sign-in sheet, I spot Luke Wright and Hannah Wright listed up top. Not that I don't know about them already, of course, but scanning through the list, a name immediately comes to my attention.
Madeline Williams.
Who dat?
Something wrong?
Huh? No, just that I remember this girl listed here.
She frowns, moves her seat closer, and takes a careful read at the sheet. There's a long moment before she speaks up again, but from the way she tenses, she appears to be expecting the worst already.
What about her?
She was with me, in the group following Cooper, when we toured the upstairs part of the mansion, I mean. Rather loud one, especially when we took a peek into the attic. Kept talking about the ghost stories the whole tour.
Sounds like a fun person.
And do you think she's...
She was reported missing 3 days after.
Dun dun dun! There was a ruckus at the precinct the day her family filed it. Threats were naturally given at the lack of progress days later, desperate ones. Her family's willing to shell out all the cash they have just to find her, to no avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them, but what can he do? What can we do? He's tied, we're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do, with everything that has been shoved into our hands recently.
She still hasn't been found. It's already been a week.
Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she sits back on a chair with a distant look in her eyes. her hand balling into a fist as she struggles with her frustration? Or maybe it's anger. But that moment doesn't last too long. Soon her grip loosens and she folds her hands back on her lap. Her expression, however, it's one I've seen too many times in the mirror. What does one say to a person burdened not by one loss, but many, who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I've yet to find the answer to that myself. Until then, the only way is forward, pressing on to see where our attempts at fixing our mistakes might lead us. And despite my own doubts, a glimpse of what looked on her face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Beatrice Wilde, one I recall from the newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at aged 74 in her sleep.
She's at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
What the heck's on that sheet? It's not even a real language, bro. Right? I like to believe so. But 3 more letters turn up when I rummage through the stack, and it leaves nothing more than foreboding feeling in me. They're all addressed to families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Jesus. Regardless, these go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with William's info sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces, each one I've seen that day, and here I am wondering if they're all right. It isn't a selfless thought that brings the question to mind. Rather, it's the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing's concrete yet, of course. These are just speculations, but we're making progress. Once done with the sign-in sheets, I stash it all along with the growing pile to my left and pull out as many other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. We're working through the employee list now, those who have been assigned to the mansion. Because if Isabella was to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who possibly read it aside from the 3 of us, if they've been noticing strange things too. For all I know, these may have just been a terrible coincidence. Although the thought of that starts to diminish as we dig into BRC's company files. 15 minutes later, the stack close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Clients and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the letter's discovery. Turns out there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Tsai, the realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the state appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent. He kept screaming about a woman.
Yeah, yeah. Immediately she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply a connection to Isabella's story, but that is exactly what happened. I mean, come on. Come on.
It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in, and he just started bashing his own head against the wall, and, well, it was messy, to say the least.
Oh no, we had no idea. Is he okay? HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now. I heard they're putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file notes his date of leaving and even when his final payment had been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the police's ears or the health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at her eyes says everything. They've hidden it from the media. They've kept it from the police. It's not surprising this will also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company. Fuck.
Rose was looking for him last week. We haven't heard anything from him either. Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Seems like a nice company, TBH. Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute. Nevertheless, I hand the files for Isabella to make a copy of.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do.
Okay.
We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Sometimes there are things you can't really brush off as mere coincidence. In my line of work, once a pattern pops, it's only right to be suspicious. Especially the thing with Sai. It hits too close with the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
It's considerably thinner than the one she brought in, yet somehow the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging onto it in the same manner one will latch onto a lifeline.
Only the noteworthy ones.
And those that might still be alive. Might. She doesn't need to know that.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with the direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough. We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second she appears to argue, then quickly decides against it and hides away before anyone reads the question in her face. Then, in a too abrupt motion, she turns towards the copier and gets to work. Soon, only the machine's constant thrum fills the air around us, while I keep myself busy cleaning up the mess we've made. The lack of talk is awkward, to put it mildly, disturbing at worst. I've gotten so used to letting her just babble away whenever it's just the two of us. It's been a while since we got a journal drop. Kylie and her huge head. I respect it though. Huge head gained. To confirm their suspicions, Isabella helped Ashton break into the Breyer Realty Corporation Luxembourg office that night. There, the files they found revealed the real deal with the mansion sale that was unknown even to Isabella, and something possibly more terrible. I could tell, however. She wants to do more. She wants to fix this mess herself, and that desire makes her antsy. But at the same time, she's learning how not to be impulsive or stubborn, exactly as I've told her yesterday before agreeing to any of this. Or maybe these so-called changes have always been with her. Dire situations have always pushed people to change after all. Although seeing this happen in front of me only makes it difficult to find the proper things to say. In an atmosphere this tense and charged, what is left for us to talk about? Certainly not the news. The weather? What's worse is when you only realize all of this in hindsight, right after you've already ran your mouth off. Some translation errors here and there, but I'll let it slide.
You know, for a house your company seems to be in a hurry to sell, they still made quite a fortune out of it. Look at this. 1, 2, 3... 6. Are you sure they're planning to give your entire share for this? This isn't a small amount, especially given the usual cut. And their accounting department isn't in the greatest shape either.
Even if they don't, it's not like someone still needs it.
Very telling. And there's the reason why people don't let me talk. Silence once again descends throughout the room, denser compared to the ones we've shared tonight. Behind me, I can still hear her movements, sharp and precise while she feeds the originals to the machine. Then, with one last click, all of it stops. Her feet shuffle lightly against the floor. When she moves away, something creaks softly, probably the table, as she settles her weight against its side. By this time, an apology is already at the tip of my tongue, but...
Belle, I'm...
Papa's
Aww.
Papa's gone, Ash.
Truly unlucky. Within those scant few seconds, everything between us shifts as the gravity of our words sinks. Right then and there, something harsh and immovable rises between us. Death is something I'm familiar with, almost 10 years in the police force, and it's impossible not to be acquainted with it. But this is different from those dead bodies we examine in forensics, a far cry from the victims we found on a bad investigation. Those I could easily distance myself from. No emotional attachments, no need for pretenses. Yet somehow I still find myself grasping for things to tell her, any words of comfort that'll dull the pain. Because, even without looking at her grief feels palpable enough, her pain an immutable weight hanging over us. So gently I offer, second option.
When?
We need to be nice. There we go. Why would we just blow her off? Be sensitive, Ash. That's how you win the girl.
Huh? When what?
Your dad. I mean, when did you find out?
She doesn't answer. Not immediately, anyway. For a long moment, the hush simply stretches out before us, spanning across the seconds we let pass while we both simply stand there waiting. Eventually, she exhales. Lightly, muted enough that I might have missed it, had I not been paying attention to her every movement.
Yesterday, around 3 in the afternoon there, Mama called. She told me he passed away in his sleep, and I guess I can take comfort in that, huh? But Papa wasn't in any pain when...
She trails off, releases another ragged breath hidden underneath her chuckles, each one mirthless, heavy with nothing but sorrow. Then she falters into silence, and for all my attempts at lightening her burden, I'm suddenly at a loss. Reassurances could only do so much, when her only reason for staying here has suddenly been taken from her, a hope yanked from under her feet right after it was generously given. And without the one person who pushes her to endure these, all the shit she's going through, means nothing but a struggle. What does one say to a person fraying at the edges, slowly wearing thin and breaking? Are words even enough? What right do I have, anyway? I cannot give her anything, apart from the lies that changed me as a person, and affection she may or may not even want for herself. Because no matter how easy she has wormed herself into our lives, how immutable her presence has become, her own heart will always yearn for something else. For home.
Tell me about him.
Huh? About what?
Your dad. Tell me about him. Anything. Just talk. Say anything you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll listen.
Silence again, as if she's testing the weight of my question. For what purpose it is, for a reason even I can't say right now. After a while, though, she starts reluctantly, her voice hitching, faltering, and stumbling on each syllable as she chooses her words. A rough start, but soon it steadies. And along with it, to keep company, the stories from childhood and memories she's fond of. Aww, shoulder to cry on. This sounds really good too. Look at that. Are the tears. Despite this, in spite of the grief choking her words off, the hurt closing her throat, and the sobs racking her lithe form, she continues, like the mere act of speaking is a relief in itself. our release. She tells me of her father, the very person who named her, how she looked up to him, how she was a bit of a tomboy growing up in her attempts to imitate him, and how the man encouraged her to pursue what she really wanted. Perhaps even the only thing she ever did for herself, having grown up not wanting anything more than food to put on their tables.
He told me I don't have to listen to them, that I can do what I want. Every day, he'd wake up at 4, Ash, because he'd earn more that way. And every single time, he'd give them to me. Whatever extra he earned, he'd hand them all, so I'd have something to use for my paintings. And you know what? Back home, just a good tube of paint costs almost as much as what we spend for food the whole day. But he'd always set something aside. Told me he wanted to see my paintings in a museum one day.
She pours all of it out, every little thing she's loved and admired about him. Like this, it's easy to see why she's gone to such great lengths for him, why she abandoned her dreams, why she went against his wishes just to grant him another chance at life. Others will say it's her warmth that draws people to her, or her cheer. Neither are wrong, but neither is the whole truth to her either. Because those who have never bothered to look beyond the surface will never see it. See her. See someone earnest, someone who's always meant well, despite her underlying stubbornness. This is how she loves. Warm, steadfast, unflinching. You never meet many people like her, not in my line of work, not with the kind of people I've had to deal with. Always with something to hide, always with something to lie about. Eventually, when you run across too many of them, you change. You become like them. In many ways, for a lot of reasons, she's the kind of person I want to be with and be around with. Oh, I want to be and be around with. Who made me feel I am still worth something.
He didn't want me to leave. Begged that I should finish my studies first. In the end, I couldn't even grant him that one request. I'm a terrible daughter, aren't I?
You're not.
Huh?
Oh. Also, very good scene, by the way. I was waiting for it to finish since it's pretty dramatic, but good voice acting on Isabella. Definitely hit me in the feels. Look at Ashton, though.
You're not. I can't speak for your dad. I haven't even met the man. But I know you're not.
I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this. The remark just came out. Now I'm stringing all of these together as I go. But one thing is certain, none of what I'm about to say is a lie.
The Isabella I know is a total klutz, but I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does. She's the type who wears her heart on her sleeve, though it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's always she's intimidated by a lot
My
of
bad.
stuff, but she knows how to appreciate the smallest things in life. Frankly, you've caused us no small amount of trouble since you barged into our lives. But when I'm with you, all of my worries seem trivial.
So cute. Heat has already crept up my face when the turn this whole thing is about to take registers. Before I blurt the rest out, declare feelings I'm not even ready to reveal to anyone, much less to her, my hand comes up to smother the rest of it. No, say it. Might be your last chance. Hopefully not, but... Though embarrassment quickly takes the reins before I can completely clamp my mouth shut.
And I'm pretty sure Zach and Becca think the same way.
Nice save.
You have a nasty way of growing on people like that, and you know what? We got everything we needed in here. I'll just wipe the security recordings and we're good to go. While I'm at it, you better wipe the snot off your face. And you don't look very nice when you're balding like that.
Good one, bro. New journal just dropped. Wow, While gathering what they found, Ashton accidentally brought up Isabella's father, who had apparently passed away the day before. Suddenly, her reasons for trying to fix this mess became clear to him. In his attempt to comfort her, he ended up almost admitting something he's not ready yet to put in words. I gather everything: the personal files, client documents, sales agreements, and contracts, anything my hand could reach. In record time, all of it has been stacked in a neat pile, ready for storage. I'm heading for the records room not a few seconds later. Wherever that is. It should be an easy find unless the place is a maze of some sort, which I highly doubt. Still beats staying here and seeing the look on her face. Crap. Really, her anger is still bearable. I can take that, including the glower she sends my way.
Yeah, I'll go get the security videos and put these back where you pulled them from. Man, these are heavy, you know?
You know?
Ash, it's just paper. You don't even know where I...
Oh, no, I can handle this. Easy as pie, and,
Easy as pie. His voice, bro.
Tapes, videos, cams. Yeah, I'm off.
Her rejection at this point? Maybe. Maybe not yet. Getting the files back to the BRC archive room is a cinch. With the documents back in their proper places, I locked the door behind me, touching it twice just to make sure. Now onto the next order of business. Removing the evidence of our little excursion here, or at the very least the part showing what we've been doing during the past hour. Can't have our faces plastered on security footage showing us breaking the laws, as it were. I'm gonna have to wipe the data from Isabella's access card entries too. Surprisingly, finding their security room proves a breeze. What will be tricky is getting inside. The fact that no one has walked out during the whole time we've been in here means the room is either empty or their security is sound asleep. Hopefully not asleep, that'd be awkward. I'm banking more on the former. If they're cutting corners and firing agents, I have no doubt they fired the guys stationed here, if they have anyone watching the monitors in the first place. It's a rather common thing for establishments, just leaving security recordings indefinitely, and only check the footage if something actually happens. Just to check, I press my ear against the door, listening for a sign of anyone occupying the room. After a long minute and nothing, I give the knob a few rattles.
Standard lock and key. Should be easy enough to pick.
We have a lockpick sets, but those are only used if necessary, and with a search warrant. Even then, it's a skill set rarely needed. Sub isn't on our top priority if they have authority to search the premises. Bolt cutters and brute force are favored methods. If those fail, we call a locksmith. Me, I prefer the good old hairpin trick when those options aren't available. Besides, they're easy to hide and store for emergencies. Running my hand through my hair, I pull out a pair of bobby pins. I mean, yeah, his hair is really good. Guess you would expect some hairpins in there. The two of these, and I can just about open any standard lock. One makes a lever and the other makes a handle. I won't call it a complex skill, but it certainly takes time and a lot of practice to successfully pick a lock. Good thing I've practiced with them for a bit in my college years. I learn more when they're accessible and standard issue for a law enforcement officer. A wiggle here, a click there, and I managed to seize all of the pins in the locking mechanism soon enough. With a slight turn of the knob, the security room's ripe for the picking. Oh, you know we're gonna get spooked here. And that's why I'm gonna blue ball you. I mean, maybe you get baited like last time where nothing happened, but something's definitely gonna happen. But we're gonna end it off here, you know, just in case they give us a fancy CG, because, you know, I have to use the Ashton one, so it's thumbnail planning at the finest. But no, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and next time we'll leave the building, maybe get a few spooks, maybe we'll get that elevator spook I predicted. But yeah, until then, see you next time. Bye bye.